Did you know that Alfa Romeo is one of the oldest surviving Italian automobile manufacturers? For more than a century, Alfa Romeo has been the symbol of speed, avant-garde design, and unparalleled engineering brilliance. As the quintessential representation of Italian pride and ingenuity, Alfa Romeo has built some of the most renowned race cars, such as the Alfetta, which goes down in history as one of the most successful Grand Prix cars of all time. Even though Alfa Romeo has survived the test of time, they have had quite a rocky history. Despite being passed through many hands of ownership, including the government, they have survived 2 world wars, the Great Depression, and bankruptcy. So, how is Alfa Romeo still in business? Join us as we explore the history, growth, and survival of this 113-year-old company. Chapter 1. The History. Alfa Romeo didn't start as the brand we know today. In 1906, a French automobile manufacturer, Alexandre Durac, built a factory in Milan. After realizing that the sales weren't economically sustainable, Durac decided to sell the company's assets in 1909. Luckily, the Italian investors, led by Cavaliere Ugo Stella, bought the company from Durac and founded a new company named Alfa, Anonima Lombarda Fabbrica Automobili, on June 24, 1910. Alfa continued to experience low sales, a problem the Italian investors now had to quickly deal with. The company needed to replace its cars with something that was more suited to the Italian market. They decided to partner with a talented Italian automotive designer, Giuseppe Morosi. With Morosi's help, the company designed and produced its first non-Durac car, the Alfa 24HP. The 24HP didn't just have the most attractive design, it was also widely accepted by the public and deemed fit for motor racing. The following year, in 1911, the company hired 2 racers, Nino Francini and Ronzone, to compete in the Targa Florio with 2 24HPs. As good an idea as this may have seemed, it didn't work so well. Neither car completed the 446-kilometer 3-lap race. Both drivers retired after 2 laps, claiming they stopped because of exhaustion. This drawback, however, wasn't enough to slow Alfa down. The company continued to innovate, and in 1914, designed the 40-60 HP they dubbed the Grand Prix, or GP 1914. The GP 1914 had a 4-cylinder engine that achieved a top speed of 87 miles per hour, double overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder, and twin ignition. For its time, it was an extremely fast car, ready to conquer the world of motorsports. However, that dream was short-lived as well. Chapter 2. Continual Innovation. The First World War soon began in 1914, and with it came a decrease in the demand for automobiles. By 1915, there was almost no demand for automobiles, and the company, like many other automotive companies, had to focus its efforts on supporting the wartime efforts to survive. They partnered with an entrepreneur, Nicola Romeo, in August 1915. Under Romeo's direction, the company produced airplane engines, compressors, and generators for the Italian and Allied forces. The war saw Alfa make a great profit from their active support. However, as the war drew to a close, the stakeholders realized that they had to return to automobile production with the help of public investors. On February 3, 1918, they reinvented the company as a car manufacturer they called Alfa Romeo. With the company's return to the automotive industry, they went back to the racetracks. This time they struck gold when Giuseppe Campari won at Mugello in 1920, followed by another second-place victory by Enzo Ferrari at the Targa Florio. The race victories gave a sporty image to the marquee. Enzo Ferrari also founded the Scuderia Ferrari racing team in 1929 as an Alfa Romeo racing team before becoming independent in 1939. While Alfa Romeo enjoyed their wins, everything changed in 1922 with the production of Giuseppe Morosi's masterpiece, the Alfa Romeo RL. The Alfa Romeo RL was an engineering marvel. It quickly became a commercial success and sold about 2,600 cars that year. The RL not only did well in sales, but also made history on the racetracks in 1923. Alfa Romeo was also put under the grand spotlight by Ugo Sivocci, who painted a four-leaf clover in a white square on his car. This emblem was called the Quadrifoglio, which became a particularly important part of Alfa Romeo's design following Sivocci's death later that year. Chapter 3: Survival of the Fittest. Alfa Romeo enjoyed the 20s, but only for a limited time. By the end of the decade, after a series of bad investments by the company's director, Nicola Romeo, the board requested his resignation as director, and in 1928, he left the company altogether. After Romeo left, the company went downhill. They didn't have a leader until 1933, which is also when the Italian government took control of the company. To maximize profits, the government cut costs and took control of the racing department. The Scuderia Ferrari was the most affected by this, and they eventually left the company in 1939. Alfa Romeo continued to mass-produce cars for commercial purposes until the Second World War. Once again, Alfa Romeo left the car business to support the war efforts. This caused their factory to be targeted and bombed during the war. The bombings, along with the substantial losses and debts, raised questions about their future and survival. But Alfa Romeo bounced back when Osario Sata Puliga designed the company's first family race car. Puliga started work by designing two cars that became symbols of the Italian post-war automotive industry. However, these cars were quite pricey, and Puliga believed that the company needed to make something more affordable to sustain. That's when he came up with the design for the Alfa Romeo 1900, something that even middle-class workers could buy. The 1900 was a landmark in Alfa Romeo's history, since it was the company's first automobile built entirely on a production line. It was the first without a separate chassis, and the first with a left-handed drive, a significant milestone for commercial success in U.S. markets. The car was also good enough to be raced at the Targa Florio, and was thus promoted as the family car that could also win races. People started calling it the family race car. The 1900 did very well commercially, selling a total of 21,304 units between 1950 and 1959. To continue this success, Alfa Romeo decided to make another family car that was more affordable and more comfortable than the 1900. They called it the Giulietta. The Giulietta instantly became a fan favorite. The car was so successful that the company completely left racing to focus on its production. From that point on, the future of Alfa Romeo was certain. Working to incorporate the best elements of the Giulietta, Alfa Romeo set about to design another automobile that challenged conventions and revolutionized design. The result was a car that featured a cut-off tail, concave sides, a low front end, and a sinuous windshield. The Giulia. The Giulia was regarded as a jewel of design, mechanics, and passenger safety. It didn't take long for Giulia to make a sales record that wouldn't be broken until the 1990s. Alfa Romeo was eventually acquired by Fiat in 1986. On January 16, 2021, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles merged operations with the French PSA Group to form Stellantis, an automotive supergroup that also owns other brands such as Maserati, Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler, to name a few. Chapter 4: As of today. As of 2023, Italy, Spain, Germany, and France continue to be Alfa Romeo's biggest markets. Globally, revenue for Alfa Romeo is projected to reach $2.5 billion in 2023. In 2022, total new vehicle sales in Europe were 11.3 million units, down 4.6% from 2021. The decline in sales was due to a number of factors, including the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and the global semiconductor shortage, leading to production delays and longer lead times for new vehicles. SUVs continued to gain popularity in Europe in 2022, accounting for 52% of all new vehicle sales, up 48% compared to 2021. Electric vehicle sales in Europe also continued to grow rapidly in 2022, accounting for 10% of all new vehicle sales, up 9% compared to 2021. The company is also on a path of strong and steady growth in Europe in 2023, particularly in France, Germany, and Italy. Globally, registrations were up 57% in the first half of 2023 compared to the first half of 2022. Conversely, even as of 2022, Alfa Romeo struggled to sell cars in the United States due to a long history of quality and reliability problems, a small lineup of only 3 models, and a limited dealer network. However, the company is committed to grow its presence in the U.S. market. As per the J.D. Power 2023 U.S. Initial Quality Study, Alfa Romeo is in the lead among premium brands and third in the industry. According to CEO Jean-Philippe Imparato, Alfa Romeo will roll out a new model each year to 2026, starting with the Tonale, the company's first luxury hybrid SUV launched in 2023. The company also has a 10-year plan to position itself as a premium Italian luxury car brand just below the all-out luxurious Maserati. Alfa Romeo is also expected to go all-electric by 2027. Imparato also mentioned that Alfa's electric offerings will live up to the sporty performance characteristics one expects from the 113-year-old company. In fact, the future of Alfa could even include some favorites from the past. The company also intends to emphasize customer satisfaction and quality over sales, to not only foster momentum among consumers, but also establish a robust foundation in their perception of the company. As per Stellantis' CEO Carlos Tavares, Alfa Romeo is profitable and is now in a position to fund its own future. Despite encountering numerous challenges and financial setbacks, Alfa Romeo has demonstrated resilience by consistently prioritizing innovation and customer satisfaction. The brand's enduring racing heritage stands as a cornerstone of Alfa Romeo's legacy and continues to serve as a vital element in the company's continued existence. Consequently, the outlook for their future appears promising. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like the video and subscribe. For now, until the next one.